Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ripper's House. I am your gracious host, Dave Makes Noises, and today we've asked a series of tubes, what was an event in-game that you did that became a meme in your group? In-game and out-of-game. Part 2. This became more of an image meme, but my character is not the most strong person when it comes to conventional fighting. My character has the lowest health and has been knocked down multiple times because they were targeted by enemies. So my character, a charismatic dragonborn rogue who enjoys deceiving foes for intro, has had to try and think outside the conventional ways of attacking, came up with a use for the flasks of oil that's in his backpack for his lantern. He decided to throw a flask with a piece of tinder or match-like object with the flask to make a firebomb-like weapon. Now, my character is known as the Goblin Melter, and the DM laughs a little whenever I burn enemies. I am now known as somewhat of an arsonist. The reason it's Goblin Melter and not Burner or something is because as a Dragonborn I have a breath weapon that I chose to be acid. Thunder Punch! Note, this event only happened because of my awesome DM. So, two of my friends, both barbarians, wanted to go fight something, and I decided to tag along. I am a College of Eloquence bard. So we found a dojo, and the two barbarians went to challenge a few of the dojo's students. One barbarian won his fight, but the other one was thrown from the ring. Then they look at me and said, "So, Banjo Boy, are you going in the ring?" He snickered. I, against all better judgment, did enter the ring. I asked my DM if I could use my Bard College feature to roll a d6 that will affect my target's next saving throw, and then asked if I could try to secretly cast Thunderwave when I extended my fist to punch. He said, "Sure, roll Deception." Eloquence Bard, I roll 17 at bare minimum. He says, "Okay, the poor student is sent flying way beyond the ring," smiley face. For my group, that would be the rat encounter. The party were heading down a sewer to find a den of thieves. All was going well till our rogue and fiend warlock heard something stirring in the darkness. Suddenly, on both sides of the party, a pack of giant rats emerged, 7 in total. It took the party 5 rounds to kill the rats, and in that time, the Warforged Bard and Hexblade Warlock had almost been downed. Later in the game, they made it to the thieves' den and noticed it was unguarded. The party went and checked inside. All the thieves were dead, and sprawled around on the floor were the corpses of rats. Shortly after, they found and recovered the chest they were looking for. When the session came to an end, one of the players told me, "Never use rats again." After that session, we would joke about using rats as a late-game encounter. We even joked about having a villain show up called the Rat King who has been mentioned in some of our campaigns. This event happened in the first session of our current Pathfinder campaign. The party composition was like this: a half-elf shifter, a tiefling magus, me, a geriatric human oracle, an elf witch, a tabaxi monk, and a human inquisitor, torturer. The torturer was played by a friend of mine, and he was kitted out for his trade. Thumb screws, poisons, giant cage of 20 rats with 20 individual names, you know, the usual. The party was hunting a feral orc that had kidnapped a child, and we had tracked him to a nearby cave. There was a fire drake guarding the door, so by the time we got to the orc, we were pretty tapped. Long story short, the orc, who I suspect had PC barbarian levels, started making the party into mincemeat. About 3 rounds in, and the only party members conscious were the elf witch and the torturer, on the ground and at 0 hit points. It was then that the torturer uttered the now famous phrase, "Use the rats." Out of options, the witch picked up the rat cage and threw it at the feet of the orc berserker. 20 trained torture rats burst out immediately and covered the orc. The DM ruled them a rat swarm, and they proceeded to finish off the baddie for us, complete with a gruesome description of the orc being eaten alive. And that is how biter, chewer, nibbler, chomper, muncher, luncher, cruncher, gripper, gnawer, nipper, gummer, gobbler, guzzler, taster, snacker, grinder, snapper, champer, carver, and of course, Kevin saved the party. I was DMing a very character-oriented labyrinth-like maze where the players would go through traumatic situations of the past event of every character that entered. The only way out was for each PC to complete their section of the maze and overcome the problem in a different light, showing growth while also battling with things they never wanted to remember. There was one character who lived in a mountain range where the town he was hunting for found a very large ore vein they were mining. In his past, he noticed that this was causing too much noise for him and wanted to go somewhere more quiet. Soon after leaving, the town mined into the mountain, so much the top of it caved in, causing a landslide, killing all who lived there. His mission was to not turn his back on the people and to have them see that their greed would eventually kill them in the end. We were 2 sessions deep into this area with no real progression. They talked to the mayor trying to get him to stop, went to the mine and tried to get the people to stop mining, to which they replied, "I work for the well-being of my family. If you have anything else I could do that would help me provide, by all means let me see it." They didn't have a reply. We were 2 hours into the 3rd session when the guy shouts out a quote our group will never forget. "Guys, I figured it out. They like money." One time during a game, I was running with my friend. The party were neck deep in a skeleton-ridden dungeon. After taking out a group of the spooky boys, the last one was giving the party some trouble hitting him. So my DMPC, a high elf divine soul sorcerer, walked right up to the skeleton, withdrew the dagger from her belt, cleavage, and proceeded to roll a nat 20. She then sighed, flicked her hair, and took a few steps back to go back to doing her main job of healing. Since then, the titty dagger has been a running joke with the group and has even leaked into a couple other characters I've made. The God Roll. It started in the 2nd or 3rd session of my first ever campaign. We had just killed some evil devil baby thing, a reskinned spined devil, and didn't really get anything in the way of loot, so I just went ahead and said, "F it, I want to roll to call for a god or whatever to give us something." The DM said, "Okay, but you're gonna have to roll a nat 20. I went ahead and did just that, and we got some pretty good loot from whatever divine power decided to help us. So now whenever we are in a pickle or something, we go ahead and do a god roll. Each player gets a single roll per session, and it has to be a nat 20. I once used it to return from another dimension." I had this player in my game who played a shifter that had cats of a tiger. Anyways, we were doing a missing persons quest, and he asked one of the NPCs if they had a piece of clothing or item he could use to track them down. I noticed that he would often sniff things and track them down with a survival check. So I said that the NPC had only stained panties. He says, "Okay," in a shaky voice, and sniffs the item. Nat 1. Player becomes unconscious while other players try to wake him up and drag him outside of the house. Now we tease him for wanting to sniff out the enemy. TLDR, shifting tiger sniffs panties and becomes unconscious. I would say my party is nothing but memes for all of us. Our cleric usually flips everyone off and wanting to cause problems for everyone. It has gotten so out of hand that we threatened to put her on a leash after she said, "I want to destroy that giant fragile orb," in a peaceful city, as she became friends with our warlock. Our warlock was like the cleric, except he was more rational than her. He became best friends with the cleric. Our dragonborn fighter never went to school, so he usually behaves dumb and asks, "What does insert word mean?" However, he was a phenomenal fighter and usually gets into arguments with our cleric. Our Loxodon, a calm and gentle giant, was explaining to our party about being nice to each other. That's until someone stole his clothes and we all in character stood there like, "Dude, you're naked." Our monk, Arakakra, worships a baguette and loves shiny things. He's our support. Lastly, my barbarian dwarf named Burn. He loves nothing but gold, so whenever he sees the chance, he takes it. Recently gained a golden arm due to getting his cut off. One session, Burn and the Dragonborn was at a black market auction, and the host asked me if I was selling the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn declines it and hoped I wouldn't sell him. That's when I jokingly asked, "Oh, how much?" knowing that I wouldn't and only want to cause trouble. In a dungeon crawler, we came face to face with a manticore. Our cleric was the first to go up, but before she does, I wish to her in character, "Tickle its chin." That was 5 months ago, and everyone still finds it funny to this day. Greetings, my glorious little goblins, and thank you for sticking around to the very end of this video. If you have an in-game event that transcended the tabletop, feel free to share it in the comments below. If you have another story you'd like to share with the community, feel free to post it on our official subreddit, r/MrRipper, where we source the stories for videos just like this one. If you're a DM or a player and you're looking for a group to play with, feel free to check out MrRipper's Group Finder Discord server, where new gaming groups are forming every day. I hope this week you take some extra steps to set yourself up for success down the road. This week, I spent a number of work days building the ultimate template for my live music set. It has light shows and glitch effects, and I'm really, really proud of it, and I hope you like it too. And with that, feel free to come hang out on my Twitch channel when I go live again. I come up with songs on the fly and take topics from the chat. It's a good time. You can find me at twitch.tv/DaveMakesNoises. I also stream it to my YouTube channel, but I'll level with you, the audio quality is better on Twitch. Anyway, thank you again for watching. You're always home when you're here with us at Rip Daddy's house. Please sub for Nat 20s, ding that dong to join the early squad, and we'll see you next time.